Hey, this is Timmy G. Welcome to my video on using the Pioneer DJ DDJ-1000 with Virtual DJ. This will just be an overview. If you guys want me to go more in depth in some of these topics, just let me know in the comments. One thing to mention before we get started is that you need to have a Virtual DJ license to use this controller with the software. If you want to buy the license for just this controller, it's $149, but you can also use the Virtual DJ Pro Infinity license, which is what I'm using right now, and that costs $299. Anyway, let's get started. So I made a video similar to this on using the DDJ-1000 with DJ Pro 2, and this will kind of be similar to this. I actually don't really use Virtual DJ all too much anymore. It was a great beginner software for me, and one of the reasons I bought this controller was because I knew it was compatible with Virtual DJ, but I started using Rekordbox and DJ Pro 2 a little bit more instead of Virtual DJ. But there are still a lot of great features of using this with Virtual DJ, and if you are a Virtual DJ user, this is a great controller to use for it. And what I did in my last tutorial, or overview I should say, is I kind of just went through all the buttons and knobs do, and just gave a brief overview. So yeah, let's get into it. So first, like anything, we're going to start with the play pause button. That's going to play our audio. So if I hit play, the song plays, and then when I hit it again, it pauses. And then I'm going to start at this top left and then kind of go make our way down to the bottom of the deck. Then we'll do the mixer, and then we'll look at the effects, and then I'm sure that'll be plenty of time. So yeah. So first, I'm just going to get back to the beginning of the track. And you can do that, by the way, by hitting Shift and Q. That usually works in most softwares, but we'll get to that in a moment. So now I'm just gonna play my track. It's Timmy G. And we're gonna set a loop. So I'm gonna hit in. And now we have a manual loop here. To make the loop shorter, we can hit in again. And again. And if you look at the jog wheel here, it shows how many beats the loop is. And to make it longer, I hit this out button. And it goes up to 64 beats. To get the loop off, you hit this button. But if you wanted to just start an auto loop instead of what we just did, which was a manual loop, you play your track, and then if you hit this button, it'll just play an automatic 4-beat loop. So that's the very basics for the looping. Right here is the quantize. This will quantize some of the stuff that you can do on this, but a lot of that is controlled in the settings. So for instance, if you set a loop, I believe it quantizes it for itself, but there are like hot cues and other stuff you can edit with the quantize if that was on or off, depending on what you wanted. I'm gonna leave it on for now. And next we'll go to slip mode. So right now I don't have slip mode on, and I'm playing the track. And when I scratch or do something else like that, it pauses until I let go, and then it plays from where we left off. But if I had slip mode on, which I'll have on now, we can see that the jog wheel gets red, and then if I hit play and then scratch, we saw that the little play arrow on the screen went by, and when I let this go, it goes to where it would have gone before I stopped playing it. So that's what slip mode does. I'm going to turn that off as well. Next is this rotary knob right here, and this does what you'd expect. It just rolls around and lets you select your track. Let's say that I want to use my track Get Back. To load it on the deck, you just click this button right here. Just click it in, and then it will load up for you. If you want to go back and like select the different playlists, you just hit this back button, and then you can select which playlist you want To get back into it, you just hit this rotary knob again. View was acting a little strange last time I checked, but view lets us like look at the samples, I guess, whatever is right here on our screen. But anyway, I'm going to get back into it. Next thing we're going to look at is right here, the jog adjust. This is not have anything to do with the software. It has to do with the controller. So this just says like how much resistance there is when it comes to the controller on the jog wheel, I should say. So if I spin this when it's in the middle, it spins a little bit. But if I turn it all the way to light and I do the same, about the same force of the spin, it spins for much longer. And if I do it on heavy, it barely spins at all. So that's just up to personal preference and whatever you like the best. Going back over here, this is the slip reverse. This is, some people call this like the sensor button. If like a swear is about to play and you don't want it to play or whatever, or just you want a cool effect, you can play the track. And since it's slip reverse, even though we don't have slip mode, it automatically plays like it's on slip mode. It goes back to where it would have played. Right here is the deck selector. So right now we're on deck 1, which we can see on the jog wheel. But if I want to get to deck 3, I just click here. And if you look on the screen, we went from A to C, which was really cool, because even though we're in 2-deck mode, on Virtual DJ, it'll show whatever track is matched up with the jog wheel. If you watch my DJ Pro 2 tutorial on the DDJ-1000, in 2-deck mode, it does not do that, and that's one of the features that I really like in Virtual DJ instead of DJ Pro 2. So anyway, to get back to deck 1, you just click that again. And let's briefly go over what the jog wheel shows. So right now we see the album artwork, BPM, the key, and then whether or not the BPM is changed. So like if I move this tempo slider, we can see the BPM's changed, whether or not it is like whatever percent and whatever BPM. And it's funny, it does this sometimes. Now if you move the pitch up or down too much, the artwork goes away, and I think that's just a Virtual DJ thing. I don't really know why it does that, but that's just something to note. Right here, if I go to a hot cue in Rekordbox, it shows the hot cues, but it doesn't do that in Virtual DJ apparently, which is not a huge deal. But I will say when I use Rekordbox, it's nice to be able to see the hot cues and when they come up, because it's helpful if you want to know when to start fading a track or something like that. But anyway, we can see that this is the master deck. So like when I get to sync, you'll see what that means. If I hit sync, we can see that sync's on here, and there's also a beat sync mode, but I'm just going to turn sync off real quick. So anyway, that's what the jog wheel's like. Scratching on this thing is great. I don't scratch a whole ton, but it feels really good. These are the same jog wheels that are on the club setup for Pioneer, the CDJs. And they feel really good, the mechanical jog wheels. Next is the shift button. The shift button will access all of the alternate functions that are written in like the gray highlight. So let's say that instead of the pad effects right here, I wanted to do pad effects 2, which is under here. I would just click shift, pad effects 2, and then I'd have all the different pad effects. But there's all sorts of shift functions that are useful. And like I was just talking about the sync, I'm going to get back to the hot cues here for a sec. When I was talking about the sync is it says master under here. So if I hit shift, this means that this is the master track. If I wanted to make the other one the master track, I would hit sync on the other deck, which I just did right there. And then if I hit sync, the sync button here, this is 128 BPM. The other track is 143. If I hit sync right here, this would jump to the BPM of the other track. Now, if I got this back to normal, and made this the master, and then I hit sync on the other deck, it would go from 143 to 128. The next thing to look at is this memory button right here. I don't really use that much, but all it will do is set like a 4-beat memory loop. So if I get out of it, the song will keep playing. But then if I hit it again, it'll set a new one. But like I said, I don't usually do that, but that's just one other feature you can use here. Next, right here is the search function. If you want to kind of quickly zoom through a track, you can go either forward or backwards. But if you want to go a little faster than this, one way you can do this is hit the shift button here and then move the jog wheel, and you'll zoom much faster. And this is what I do if I want to zoom quickly. In other softwares, or like DJ Pro or Rekordbox, I believe you hit the search and then move the jog wheel, but it all depends on the software. We kind of talked about the cue button earlier, but this is just like any temporary cue point that you can use. So if I want to play it kind of like there, get to a part where I can either restart or do something like that, you can do that. And like I said earlier, shift and cue will get us back to the beginning of the track. Now what I'm going to do is, before we go over the pad effects and just the pad settings in general, I'm going to talk about the fader and the master tempo. So right now I have master tempo off, which means if I play the track and I move this, the tempo and the pitch will go up together and they'll go down together. Now it's back in the middle. I turn master tempo on, which means that no matter what the speed is of the track that I change it, the pitch stays the same. If I hit shift and this, I get the tempo range, which right now it's set to 25%, I believe. Now it's wide, which is at 100. 100% less than anything is just 0, so it won't play any at all. I actually prefer it to be 10%. Right now it's 6. This is where I like it at 10. I believe it goes next to 16. And then it goes back to wide. So I'm gonna get back to 10. And if you want to pick something else, you can go into the settings and do that too. I would say 10. 10 for me is the perfect balance of precision and also enough like leeway if you're mixing two tracks that don't have super close BPMs, but close enough where you can make it work. But I gotta say, I love these faders. They're nice and big. You can get really accurate beat matching with them, and it's one of the many features that I really love on this controller. The next thing to look at is key sync. So this will either sync it or not sync your track with the other track. Right now, these both happen to be in the same key, but if I load a track on deck 2 that's in a different key. So right now, the key on the left is G minor, the key on the right is E minor. If I hit key sync, then this will go to the closest compatible key. So it went from G minor to A minor, which if you know anything about music theory, there's a lot of similar notes in those two keys. So if I play them together, like if I want to harmonically mix or something, it might sound a little bit better than if I just kept them in the original key. But this, you'll really only have to worry about this if you're going to be doing harmonic mixing or some sort of advanced technique like that. To get it back to normal, you just hit key reset, and now it's back to its G minor key. And last but not least on the deck, we have the pads. So like I've been doing earlier, we have the hot cues. Pretty typical. To set one, let's say I want to set one over right about here. Just push it, and it will play. I prefer to have it just kind of like trigger and then not keep playing, but I'm sure you can go adjust that in the settings. I really haven't looked at it too deeply, but I'd be shocked if you couldn't do that. But anyway, they just work like simple hot cues. Next are the effects. And if you look on the screen right here, it tells you what it's going to do, which is really cool. So like I just clicked effects. If I go back to hot cue, it switches to the hot cues right here. If I go back to the pad effects, it goes to the pad effects 1, and it shows you what each pad is going to do. So I'll just kind of go through them all quickly and show you what they sound like. And you can actually do more than one effect at the same time. So let's say I want to do these 2 effects, these 3. There's a whole lot you can do to get really cool sounds. Next, I'll click the beat jump button, which does get us to beat jump. So this goes backward a little bit, forward a little bit. Same thing, backward, forward, backward, a little bit more, forward a little bit more, backward even more, forwards even more. And I believe this might even get us more. No, that doesn't do anything. Oh, no, it does. Yeah, so when I hit this button right here, the page, it goes to the bottom, and it just kind of goes through all of our options. I wonder if that will work for the other stuff. Oh, yeah, we can have up to 16 hot cues. That's cool. I don't really know people who use more than the 8, but I guess if you're doing something specific, like doing some sort of advanced like hot cue play or stuff like that, it might be useful to have more than the 8. Pad effects, there's just the 8 because of the pad effects 2, which we'll get to in a second. Beat jump, there is more. Wow, up to 32 bars. That's a lot. Now we'll go to the sampler. The sampler, oh, okay. So this either lets us go through our samples, which over here on the mixer, you can adjust the sampler volume. Classic air horn. And you can load your own samples. You just drag the file and drop them in here. I've added some samples, but right now my flash drive that has those samples is not loaded. But if I hit this button, it looks like we can kind of go through, like this is the instrument. Oh, that's a beat right there. And then hit shift to turn it off. Oh, this is cool. You can kind of make your own beats. So you can have some fun with that. And then if I do it again, it gives us another option, which I actually am not entirely sure what exactly it does. Let's see what this does. These are all the default samples. I have no idea what they actually are. And then it goes back here. So yeah, this page is pretty cool. And let me just try one more thing with this sampler bank. If I'm right here, if I hit shift, let's see what it does. Oh, okay, it goes, if you look right here, it says what it does. So right now it's on hold. So you have to hold it for it to play. But if I hit that again, it's on stutter. So that means it plays until I stop it by hitting shift. And then, whoops, on mute. Oh, that's pretty cool. Let me get back to normal. So yeah, there's all sorts of options there. Now I'm going to hit the shift button and get to our pad effects here, our pad mode. So this is keyboard, but it's not really keyboard because if we see here, it's our cue loop. And if I wanted to change this, I could actually click here on the screen and go to whatever I wanted to make it. but I'm just going to keep it right here. So the Q loop does, looks like just a 4-bar loop on the whatever the hot Q is. I'll go to the Pad Effects 2. Got out of my loop there. These are just more effects. And I believe you can edit these effects, make them whatever you want them to be. Next, we just have, looks like the loop if I push them. Yep. Yep. And if I hit this page up or down, it just gives me longer loops. But if you want to use longer loops, I just suggest doing it yourself. And the key shift. So this will change the pitch of the track. So this gets us all the way to 12 semitones lower. And 12 higher. Sounds kind of silly, but if you want, like I said, if you want to harmonically mix, then you can do that. So I'm gonna hit key reset. That'll get us back to normal. So yeah, that's about it for the deck here. I'm gonna briefly look at the mixer here, and then we will look at the effects, and then we'll be done. So here's our mixer right here. We have our, I'll start at the bottom here. We have our crossfader. This is our headphone level, if we had headphones plugged in. This is our Q to master ratio here. I like to keep it, have the Q a little louder. This is our sampler volume. And then this is if our sampler is queued up into our headphones. Here are the sound color effects knobs. So I'll go back to here, the hot cues. If I play the track, right now I have it on pitch. So that will just change the pitch of the track. Right now I just turn it on filter. Acts like any sort of high pass, low pass filter. Noise, I'll do this on deck 3. Just some like a white noise filter. And then echo. These are our standard EQ knobs. So this turns the bass down or up. Mids. Highs. This is our trim. And then right here we have our which USB it's going into. This controller has 2 USB cables. Right now I have all of them going to one because I only have it plugged into one laptop. I do have a video on plugging this into multiple laptops. So if you want to check that out, you can go and do so. Right here, we have our Q buttons. So whatever we want to hear in our headphones, whatever channels we want to hear, we just click those on and off. And then these are our standard faders, channel faders. So they go up pretty normal, like any other controller. And then right here, this says which side of the crossfader we want it to assign. I have this pretty standard. My 2 decks on the left are going to the A side, and my 2 on the right are going to the B side, but you can change that if you'd like to. Now I'm going to briefly go through all the effects, and then we'll be done, I promise. So right now I have it on low cut echo. And that looks like it's acting like a filter. Nothing's showing up on the screen. I don't know exactly why. Okay, there we go. Now we have echo. If we see on our screen right here, that's what we're controlling. Oops. I'm going to start the track over. Now we have our delay. I can change how much delay. Spiral. Reverb. The transformer, which is called the cut, I guess, here. And what I'm doing here, I'm just changing how fast it is getting cut. Now this is Enigma Jet, but in the software it's distortion. I wonder if you can change that. Probably. So whatever you pick, you can probably change that. I'd be shocked if you couldn't. Virtual DJ is pretty good at letting you customize what you want to do. Now the flanger. Phaser. Pitch. This is slip roll on the controller, but flip in double, whatever that means. Kind of similar. Loop roll. You can change that. Pretty cool. Mobius, which is a great effect if you don't overuse it. You can change how fast. Last thing to mention is this button right here. This queues up your audio to your headphones, and if you're listening on booth monitors or monitoring speakers or whatever. And then this is our master fader, and this controls the master volume. But yeah, after that long explanation, that's about it. If you like this video or if it helped you out, be sure to give it a thumbs up. If you have any questions or video suggestions, be sure to leave a comment. If you want to see more content like this and check out my original music, DJ performances, or sound design tutorials, be sure to subscribe to my channel. Thanks a lot.